Hello my friends, it's Gabriel with the Last Huntsman channel here. I got my lovely assistant Bailey and Ada, our little mini schnauzer, out here in the woods with us. Today I'm going to be doing a video on a knife that I designed, and I intended this to be an Esee Prototype, and that is the Wharnecliff 7 here. And so I do not see very many people make a medium size survival knife style Wharnecliff, or some people calls them a Seax. This, I took the design off of the Esee 6 handles. Instead of an exposed tang, I have it just a full handle down here, but overall this is exactly the same grip as the Esee 6. Has a choil on it, 1095 handcrafted, differentially heat treated carbon steel. Person who handmade this knife for me was a young man named Colton Kiso with Heath Creek Forge Knives. I'll have to post a link to him down in the description, but he was kind enough to make this blade for me and did a really good job. It's a little different than the specs that I originally drew up, but overall it's a really good design. I'm going to kind of compare this knife in my design to the Esee 6, because what I think would be cool is if Esee made a production version of this and offered it with the same handle scales, and so then you can put on your TKC grips and all that good stuff. But we're going to test this knife out, thrash on it a little bit, show what it can do, show how it's a little different than say your Esee 6 or some of your other Esee knives, because it has that just straight continuous edge. And we're gonna be out here working on this blade. Alright, so the first task I'm going to do in testing out my own knife design here, I haven't really fully settled on a name for it, but I think the Wharne 7 would be a really cool name for it. But tell me what you guys think. I'd like to hear your all's opinion. But I'm going to baton this piece. I got several pieces I'm going to baton. Get some smaller logs out here so I can make me a fire. It's mid-January out here, so it's not super cold today, but it's cold enough. But got my good old handy dandy Osage beaten stick. It's getting chewed up finally, but it's lasted a lot longer than any other beaten sticks I've had. But let's thrash on this bad boy. And let's test young Mr. Colton Kiso's heat treat on a steel here. There's a good old knot. I'm going to baton through this one, and then I'm going to have my lady love beat through the next one. Here, I thought about too, with the final design, of maybe converting this from a full flat to maybe a saber grind, like a super high saber grind, because I've always found that saber grinds baton a little better. But
you just like to get in the way, don't you?
I'm going to finish this up. Bailey wasn't having the best luck with it, but well, there is a knot right there. This is a pretty solid piece of hickory.
Well, why'd you pick the hard one for me?
Because there's a whole lot of hardwoods around here, darling. There's not very many softwoods. Welcome to Central Missouri. But yeah, it's splitting this hickory pretty well. Let me find something a little different. I think this is oak. I'm not the all-knowing woods expert either, so I might get some of these wrong.
Hey, she's taking my firewood.
Alright, let's try this piece here. Oh yeah, it goes through that oak a lot easier. Split this piece. Okay, so I have my Wharnecliff 7 here, right next to the Esee 6, and so they're little, pretty much the same size knife, exception for this one obviously has a 1 inch longer blade, and it's a broader blade. And on the original design, I actually had it a little bit more broader, but when I had it hand forged, it didn't quite come out to the exact specs that I wanted, which you can kind of expect that with a hand forged knife. But as you guys can see, these are very similar knives, just the ergonomics is a little different, but the overall shape of the handle is identical for the most part. This is a full flat grind. It's also has a full 90-degree spine on it, and it can strike a ferro rod. I'll show that later. And I do have this with a tapered tang, which what that does, and this was Colton's idea, but it makes this into a perfectly balanced knife. Now this is the sheath that I made for it. Well, I kind of made for it. This is a JRE Industries sheath that I wet formed for it. I got some Viking writing on it and cross of our Lord and Savior. I wet formed it, all that good stuff. Got my favorite 6-inch ferro rod in there with the deer antler handle that I put on there. But my envision for this blade is to be kind of like a semi-bushcraft / semi-survival kind of knife. And so what I'd really like to see out of this is a similar finish that's on, say, the PR4 or the JG5 with a leather sheath and 90-degree spine, and then have the SE6 style handle scales on it, so you can put any number of aftermarket grips on it. Also, as you guys may know, when I come out to the woods, I generally bring a gun with me. It is rabbit season, so I've been using a lot of 22s and shotguns lately. Got my good old trusty Ruger 1022. Love this rifle. It's one of my favorite rifles, really. And then I also got a new one. It's my Ruger single 10. I got this for Christmas, and boy, do I love it. It is very accurate. Those fiber optic sights are very nice. Looks very nice. Those wood grips just look amazing. I'm sure I'm going to beat the hell out of them, taking them out in the woods with me all the time. But you know what? I like a gun with character. So, yeah. Enough of the talk. Let's thrash on this blade, though. Alright, so I got a piece of this hickory that I just batoned through. I'm going to see how well this thing makes some feather sticks.
No, I want to do it.
Well, here, I'll let you do some. I'm screwing it up a little bit here. Getting some pretty decent feathers, though. Hickory, actually, seems like it does pretty well for making feather sticks. It's so splintery. As you guys can see, I can make some pretty decent feather sticks with this. Alright, so another test I'm going to be doing here, I'm going to be doing some de-limbing, so Miss Bailey can have some limbs here for her fire. But this thing pops right through these cedar limbs. Cedar is probably going to be about the best quick firewood or quick burning firewood you're going to find around here. Yeah, it gets right through these. Cedar doesn't cut very easy, though. It kind of snaps more than it cuts. You want to try it, darling?
Nope.
No? Alright, so next task I'm going to do here is I'm going to make some notches here. And I'm just going to make some common notches. It's going to be a square notch here. If I can get this piece of wood on a steady basis here. It bites in really well. that out. And I got a pretty decent square notch. Let me try more of like a notch that you would use for steaks here. Because this has like a SE6 style grip on it and stuff, and the choil works really good for carving and whittling type of task like this. And that straight edge lends itself to not having to worry about a belly. It's just one continuous straight edge. Now, like I said, this isn't exactly like my design is. There's a little bit of differences in what Colton at Heath Creek Forge forged for me and what I designed up. Mine originally had a like 100% straight edge and the blade was a little bit more broad. This, as you can notice, has just a hint of a recurve. It's not enough to annoy me because I'm not a recurve fan at all. I hate recurves, but this one here, it's just so slight, and in some ways I think it actually kind of adds more appeal to the knife. And my original design, I actually had this as a broken back style Seax, but after messing with that a little bit, and it looked ugly like that, and so I took it back to Colton and we kind of redesigned up this Wharnecliff style, and it makes this blade look really phenomenal. And if you're wondering what that 34 is on there, that he puts that in all his knives of how many knives he's made, and so this is his 34th knife that he's made, and so that's kind of cool. You know, I'll keep that, you know, when he probably becomes famous and making knives that's thousands of dollars and on a 2-year waiting list or some shit, then I'll get to say, hey, I got a Colton Kiso knife and mine's the 34th one he's ever made. So, and you know you got the best woman God could ever provide a man when she's making a fire for you, and you don't even have to do it. Alright, another quick test I'm going to do with my knife is, I wanted this thing to have a sharp 90-degree spine on it so I can make fires with it. Since Bailey already got a fire going, I'm going to just make a quick little fire off to the side, not with any intention on keeping it, but it sparks fairly well. If my tinder will. Oh, there we go. A little bit of that fat wood down in there. It'll take off. Is that going? Alright, the next test I'm going to try with this is I'm going to do some tip testing, and as you guys can see, with that full flat grind, it kind of comes down to a fine tip, but it's pretty beefy going all the way up to it. So I think this thing will do just fine. But we're going to do some tip testing. And mind you, I have almost, with the exception of cedar trees around here, I have almost exclusively hardwood around here. I'm pretty sure this piece of oak, but it's dead. Yeah, actually, surprisingly, for a just a straight Wharnecliff, it stabs really well, much better than what you would think. I'm getting a good, solid inch or so into that wood. And this is, mind you, a hard wood, hard enough to make it hard to pull out. Took a good little chunk out of it. Now this is a pretty hard test here, so taking chunks out of there. My blade is still holding up. Stuck right into that CCA lumber there. Well, knocks the crap out of that bone. Alright, we're going to continue this chopping test here. I'm going to be hitting on this fairly dead piece of oak here. Well, kind of digging in fairly well, especially towards that tip there. Likes to bite in really well. We can zoom in on that damage there. It does pretty well. Alright, so another test I always do with a lot of my knives is, and especially this one since it is my knife, is how well can this thing be a tactical knife and how well can you manipulate it. And I got my good old beaten tree. Something I was going to show real quick. This thing, especially when doing a tip cut, just sticks really well. This thing has a lot of tip power on it. Seems like that's like the most powerful point is right up here. But I'm going to get my handy dandy lanyard on and we'll do some knife combative stuff with it. Alright, do some stabs with it. Thing has a lot of bite to it. Overall, can be a decent tactical. Alright my friends, I'm not going to do a super extensive video on this. Speak to me in the comments section below. Tell me what you guys think of my design. I'm calling this the Wharnecliff 7. I'm going to be speaking with Esee Knives since I've kind of utilized some of the Esee 6 design on this. That I think this would be a cool production knife. I would tweak a couple things with it as far as the production model goes. I do like the pouch style leather sheath, and I think what would be cool is to kind of make this in a mix of like an Esee 6 but with the Wharnecliff design and the JG5 style finish and with a 90-degree spine on it. But let me know what you all think. I'm really liking this blade, not only because I designed it, but I think it works really great, and I think it would be a neat addition. I'll be contacting Esee, but with all that being said, be prepared both physically and spiritually. God bless, and carry on.